Everyone, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I am an adrenal fatigue recovery ninja, and today I want to talk to you about adrenal fatigue diets part 2. We had just finished talking about small meals versus intermittent fasting. So when we talk about intermittent fasting, we're talking about having a 16 to 17 hour fast. So let's say you had your meal at 7 p.m. the night before, then that would equal somewhere around 11 o'clock the next day. And a lot of patients that I talk to say, oh my goodness, Dr. Rosen, there's no way that I can do that. When I wake up in the morning, I am so hungry or I'm nauseous, but if I wait too long, then I get shaky, lightheaded, and jittery. And that may be real. And so what I tell those patients is, what is your blood sugar levels? And they say, well, the last time I did my blood sugar test, it was, 92. So I don't have high blood sugar. And I'm like, well, what's your real-time blood sugar value? So they say, what do you mean? I say, what is it at the time of the day when you're hungry and you get shaky and lightheaded? What is your blood sugar levels? They have no idea. I said, well, why don't you take your blood sugar levels? I said, well, I'm not a diabetic. Well, the problem is that if you don't know where your blood sugar levels are at, then it's really hard to say whether or not you're going to not benefit from a intermittent fast. So what I tell patients is get this Precision Extra. Buy it. It's probably $25 on eBay. The trick is you have to buy glucose readings and ketone readings, and those will allow you to know what your blood sugar levels are at. So what I tell patients is when you first get up in the morning, take your blood sugar level. You may find that it's above 100. You may find that it's at 70. If it's really low, then you ultimately have an adrenal cortisol problem, and you're probably waking up several times throughout the evening. You can't stay asleep. Your sympathetic system is firing and lighting up your brain, and you're just not able to stabilize your blood sugar. To those I say, have something before you go to bed. Have something that has fiber in it, has something that has a little bit of fat in it, maybe a little bit of glucose. I usually say apples with a nut butter, something like that, so that way you can stabilize your blood sugar throughout the entire evening. So let's say you wake up in the morning and it's about 90 or 95. Then you can try to intermittent fast. And what I would tell you is try to not have something to eat until, say, 10 o'clock. Take your blood sugar before you do that at that time too. So you've done it twice. Now when you first woke up, and now just before you eat. When you do it just before you eat, you may find that it's 80 or 70, or you may find that it still is above 100. Whatever it is, if it's not below 70, then you're not going to die of hypoglycemia. You're not probably even going to die if it's below 70 anyways, but you don't want to get into that really, really low blood sugar, because then that can cause shutdown of problems. That can start fainting, and you can start having some problems from that. But suffice to say, it's really important to look at your blood sugars so that you can see how you're feeling psychologically. Meaning, a lot of the times before I took my blood sugar, I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to crash, I'm getting shaky, I'm getting lightheaded. And my blood sugar was in the 90s. And so once I realized there's a difference between physiological hunger and psychological hunger, then I realized I'm not going to die here. I can settle down and not eat anything. On the flip side, it's really important to look at your ketones, because if your ketones are low, they should be above 0.4 or 0.5 in the morning to know if you're in ketosis, meaning you're using glucose, so you're using fat as a fuel source. If it's below 0.4 or 0.5, then chances are you're not in ketosis. It doesn't matter what your blood sugar says, you're not in ketosis. You're not utilizing fat as a fuel source. And the reasons those could be plenty. Could be that you're not eating enough fat, which is really important. You need to eat about 70 to 80% of your total meals from fat. So whatever you weigh, figure out half of that is in kilograms, 2.2. And then times that by about 2. So if I weigh 170 pounds, my kilograms is about 70. And so what I do is I typically will times that by 2 or 2.5 to figure out how much dietary fat I should be eating. So I should be eating probably about 150 grams of of dietary fat. If I'm not, then chances are I'm not going to be in ketosis. So that's number one. Number two, probably you're eating too much carbs. Number three, probably eating too much protein. But the trick is you need to test your blood sugar to know where are you. And what you should be seeing happening is, number one, you should see your glucose go from, say, less than 100 to maybe 80 or 70 before your first meal, and you should see your ketones go from 0.5 in the morning to say 1.3 before your first meal. If you're doing that, then you're in ketosis, and it doesn't matter if your blood sugar is falling. So that takes a lot of work, and there's a lot of videos to do in between that, but I just want you to get the concept that if you're eating small meals more frequently and you have insulin resistance and you have adrenal fatigue and your blood sugar is not below 70 when you first wake up in the morning, or not below 75 or 80, then chances are that you can go on an intermittent fast. If, however, your blood sugar is below 70, or you're waking up several times throughout the night, you may not be ready. But you, at least in the very least, have to take your blood sugar levels to see where you're at, and take your ketone levels and see where you're at. This is something different. This is something that is against what you've been told. And you know what? The problem is that you're still suffering. If you're still suffering with an adrenal problem, it means that you are not doing the right things, and what you eat and what you put in your mouth and how often you eat and what the total carbs that you eat and how much fat you eat and how much protein you eat matters. It doesn't matter that you're taking cortisol adaptogens, or you're taking pregnenolone or DHEA. You need to get to the source of the problem, and that has to do with how you're metabolizing your food. So anyways, my name is Dr. Joel Rosen. I hope you enjoyed this edition of your Adrenal Fix. Make sure you give me a thumbs up, a share, a like, a comment, and go check out my blog at adrenalfatiguesociety.com, or check me out on Facebook at Adrenal Fatigue Recovery. Look forward to helping you with your adrenal fatigue.